where the ocean begins to so sweet beneath your sins. Blend every day to the abyss. With these tools let your sorrow kiss. And sweet, the sweet you need. Assistive tools in the ocean sleep. Use it as little or as much as you please. In Blender's depths is the
Hello everyone,
ultimate
I'm
tease.
your host MX2. Nursing the sniffles in the summer. You know, it's scarier to be sick in the summer for some reason compared to the winter. But let us go ahead and jump into the next part. Normally I'd want to procure my tools on site like Solid Snake, but it appears that we already have a SOCOM, FAMAS, a couple of rations, a cardboard box, and let's just get started. So we will go ahead and correct this handle. Sometimes I look at a part and I'm like, I don't think I even know how to solve that. All right, and that's even more exciting. Let us Control A after, what I did was I pressed X and removed that modifier, and then press Control A over that one to apply it. Just simpler. And let's just imagine this in terms of subdivision conversion. So I was going to just start putting a loop across there, and then maybe a loop across there to start really placing sections here. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll jump in and we'll start off with project line, and hopefully I don't sound too bad, guys. I was going to take a small break, but work continues, and I don't want to insinuate that I stop working anytime I encounter hardship. So let's jump into Insolve, and we'll go ahead and use the offset to begin. And we'll jump back over to Insolve, where we can jump over into Knife. And with something like that, we are able to basically perform a correction. In fact, we probably want to loop cut along this particular area just to really protect it, but let's undo that for now so we can make sure that we have everything else taken care of. So with this edge, we can press E and F in order to make it even and conformal to the other edge, one of my favorites in Blender. And we'll just go ahead and do a little collapse action here along with requadding. And let me also make sure that I don't get surprised by anyone. Okay, now I'm alone. Yeah, earlier I was having a talk with someone about Chipotle because I used to love Chipotle, but now I just can't. I can't even talk about Chipotle without getting mad. I'll go there and they will just do me in while looking me in the eye, and that's even worse. Nothing's worse than being looked in the eye while being done in by Chipotle. And by being done in, I mean one time I ordered a burrito and the person literally gave up on rolling it and left the room. It was just the worst experience, just leaving me with a defeat of a burrito to think about. So we'll go ahead and bring this edge down, perform this correction, and really we're thinking about how much do we want to solve here. We could go ahead and jump over to the secondary one, which allows us to simplify our selection a little bit to single click. So I'm no longer holding Alt and Shift in order to do selection. And this is one of those things that it'll be hard to express the value of it. And I want to dissolve it with Control X, but it appears that Control and X just isn't going to work inside of this unless we map it. So we can map it. In fact, I'm curious as to why I can't do it. Let's double check our settings to make sure. All right, and we're just making sure that we don't have anything mapped to nothing, because that's where we'll dissolve our edges, because chances are we'll be wanting to select these edges and then also dissolve them, and we'll make it an after behavior so that if we basically alt click our edges like so, we are able to remove them all, except we want to add to the selection and also maybe turn off after. We don't want to paint it, we just want to use whatever is already there. So just like that, we have removed it, and we can go through and continue selecting without holding down any modifiers, and then just alt click in order to remove them. But before that, I will press C in order to just make sure that nothing else is selected that isn't supposed to. Let's try that again. And I don't know if those are selected or not. They look selected to me. And that looks selected, and these two elements look selected. So let's jump back in, and we'll hold Alt and click, and we now got it removed. So we are just making progress here. Sometimes it takes me a little bit to wake up and remember my configurations, but that is also part of the tool testing. I'm wanting to put myself in the shoes of the customers to understand, what it will be like when they make a unique setup and then they forget how to use it. Let's just remove that. We're just selecting every other edge. For a moment, I lost my train of thought, but maybe something like so. And we can actually get we don't want to actually select the entire loop. And we'll just slide here. And I know, not the best solution. Just like sliding there is not the best solution. But we can at least now begin taking this somewhere better. In fact, this area that I'm cutting in, I see as like a temporary area that probably doesn't need to stay. But let us go ahead and continue. And I'm just looking at this wondering, if we should get rid of the try or what we should do. But yeah, just choosing such a interesting array of flatty elements to go against curved elements just makes for a really interesting solution for this area. So it's, just slightly puzzling to my brain. We'll dissolve that and we'll continue to protect this top portion. We'll use a terminator there. And, I keep wanting to end it, but really we need to continue it. In fact, something like that, just to ensure that we have protection along the top and the bottom. And we are making delightful progress. And when I'm using the tool, I'm not really measuring how fast I'm working. I mean, I could definitely work faster. I could work as fast as possible. I could work like a madman if I wanted to. But what benefit is that other than entertaining you? What I'm really measuring is hand pain. There's a degree of hand pain that I seek to resolve through the usage of this tool. And so to me, it's that reduction that tells me whether what I'm doing is successful or not successful. Because the fastest tool, we've already tried that. I have no issues with hard ops, but we definitely tried our best to make it the fastest tool possible, at least when it came to doing things. That's why it's very key heavy. It's very important that you use hotkeys to get the most out of hard ops. And that is, of course, by design. And because, hotkeys are the fastest way. In fact, I'll never be able to present a faster way than telling a user, hey, use your freaking typing skills to type out what it is that you want to do. What's faster than going into Bevel, pressing 1, 2, 3 to change it to whatever you're needing to change it to, adjust to auto smooth all at the same time. But to do that, it does require the conveyance of the 1, 2, 3 keys. And so I'm hoping that we can approach topology in a way that doesn't have that as a concern. We'll connect this here, and despite it looking like I'm not making any progress, we are making progress. We're just starting with the hardest part, which to me is this part that I'm working with. And so how do we want to solve this? Like so. And I think that will work. Let's right click and just take a look at analyze, and we see that we're not really creating too many problems here. Let's go ahead and correct this. And now we'll put a try right in the middle. I don't like that, but let's accept that. I gotta blow my nose due to a runny nose situation. All right, I'm back. So I think that Corona has made the flu like a non-issue anymore. Like, we don't even think about it anymore. I think I got the flu. You know, my woman offered me a chance to take a corona test. I was like, why would I do that? I'm not gonna take one of those tests. I don't need to know I have that. That would only ruin my day. And what do I have to do? Go to the hospital? No. Let's not do that. So what we want to do here is go ahead and just make these connections. And of course, I am creating a few little rogue tries here and there, but that's fine. You know, we could also choose where we want those rogue tries. And this area that I formerly solved, we now have to resolve. But how do we want to do that? I'm thinking that we solve that one there. And something like that. And then if we look at it, we see that that is an adequate solution. And then, you know, we look at each of these bevels that is added here, and how do we want to go about rationalizing that to the rest of the mesh? This edge loop is here just to basically protect the flatty surface to prevent any weirdness from happening with it. Sorry, I knocked my lapel mic off. Sorry, I'm a mess today. I started off at the beginning of this being very confident and talking about the exciting stuff about the tools, but now, yeah, somehow I've caught some sort of mystery bug, and it's impacting my effectivity, but that's fine. We must work through such things. You know, I once did a entire product called Blending Away the Pain, so this is an extension of that. We must blend away any pain. Now, whenever it comes to changing our configuration, we can change it with the numerical keys. You see me pressing 1, 2, 3 to change between edge, vert, and face, but this is something that we're able to overwrite on a individual level. So if you're using the latest version of Install, under Input, there is the option to use numeric shortcuts, which will then let you press 1, 2 to toggle between your configs 1 and 2. And you know, previously we had this attached to the mouse. I thought, hey, if we simplified it to basically have one option control multiple things, that would be a good idea, and it turned out that that is a dumb idea. We need an option for the option, and that's it. Like, you need the option. So let's dissolve edges. We probably can get rid of those two, so we will dissolve that and jump back over. And we're just testing hotkeys here. I actually forgot to enable hotkeys to be displayed, so I apologize for that. We are 12 minutes into this video, and then I finally discover that hotkeys aren't showing. So this is big bad. Is it so bad I must restart the whole video? Possibly. You know, how important are those hotkeys? I mean, actually, wait, no, I shouldn't restart the video in an install video, because what hotkeys am I pressing? Control and Alt and Shift. Let's take a look at what we're getting here. And I know we're just giving it loops to, you know, please other loops, not even required, you know, especially when we could get in here and do reductions. So let's just dissolve that edge, and then we can make the connection. And what we want to do is grab this vert, make the connection. And we'll make this connection here. And we can also, you know, we don't have to be so basic. You know, there's so many things that we could be doing easier. But the only reason I'm not doing it is because I'm examining the manual methods. Like, for example, we have the ability to basically extend these out, but we also have the hops ability to extend them out, meaning I can press Alt-E, extrude on vertices to extrude them out freely using Blender. And then we just grow it, and we just shift click knife, and that will just do it. So basically I do need that same functionality inside of our version, and those are the things I'm thinking about as I'm working. I'm like, these inconsistencies will have to be satiated in order for the product to truly come into its own. But every little issue is something that, I'm thinking obsessively about. In fact, I would want to smooth that using smooth, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. And I think we are making delightful progress. I mean, maybe the part was easier than I thought. So I'm going to press 1, 2, 3 to try to select a face, and we see that numerical input can be in your way if you need it in your way. But really, I'm about to inset it. So to inset it, we can go back over to Solver. We can just inset it like so, and then do what we have to do. But before that, we got to jump back over to 2, grab all of these extra loops, and dissolve all the things that aren't needed, for they are not needed. What is needed though is simply a loop here, connecting here, making those quads. So sometimes knife project will project a little far, but we're in a good place. In fact, I'm now elated because this model's on its way to completion, meaning I can blow my nose again and then go take some Mucinex and then maybe lay back in bed. But no, I have more work I must do. I want to get past this gun. I actually have an asset that's more important than this that I want to do, but for now, the first thing is to knock this thing out. I wanted to have a video of me completing every asset offered inside of Insolve. So this late minute addition also must be solved in order for me to demonstrate that I am able to solve everything that we offer. And also, I do plan to have additional offerings over time, but as we continue progressing forward, we are of course bringing out the community crabs, which remind me that any idea worth pursuing is also worth pursuing through inordinate amounts of rain induced by crabs. So it is very difficult, but that is also part of it. So I've just been bringing a new editor in and just kind of expressing to him kind of the volatility of the scene that he's looking at, because it's easy to get the wrong impression and then be pleasantly surprised by such negative, crabby people. So it requires an amount of perfection in order to make sure all your bases are covered to avoid such ugliness. In fact, for this one, let's say we want to do it faster. We want to do it faster, so we will select every other loop, and we want to do basically a multi-join. So we'll jump into Insolve from nflow, and we are just going to enable ourselves to use join, but instead of using join, we're going to enable multi-join. And multi-join will just let us do that, and we're done. That's it. We've multi-joined and completed this asset. So, I mean, there's always a faster way to do everything that's worth exploring, but before that, I do like to explore the manual way over and over and over just to truly become tired of it. So when I make jokes about loop cut, it isn't to say loop cut is bad, it's to say that loop cut over time has given me a bit of memory when it comes to basically bodily pain, and that is something that I want to attempt to alleviate. And so, to a beginner user, they will never understand the meaning of, hey, if you loop cut 100,000 times, it will hurt your hand after a while. So instead, it's a much more difficult thing to convey. But if you have the dexterity and skill to basically never need to analyze such things, then you're in a good place. You're in a better place than me. But for me, just trying to model an entire pressure washer from a subdivision level from scratch turns out to be a little bit more handy-hurdy than I'd like, indicating that there's much work to be done. Let's right click and just look at what Analyze has given us, and we have only 1, 2, 3, 4 triangles, and really I need something to tell me how many triangles are there, not just show the triangles. But if we want to basically play get rid of the triangles, then we do have a little bit of flexibility to combine triangles that are on the same astral plane. You might be looking at this, you're like, yo, that's 3 triangles. How are you going to solve that, Brainiac? I can't solve that. I don't know. Let's try our best, and maybe that will do. And this thing that I do where I walk the triangles, I am obsessed with it. I mean, I don't like walking it like that because we're skewing everything on the way there. So we'll have to analyze another way to deal with that. Perhaps some way like this, and then we can always have a loop. Meet it, ending that conversation. That's if we really want it to be just all quad. Like I say, the all quad argument is nonsense, because one level of subdivision will make everything a quad. So as a result, you know, what does it mean to work in all quads? Really, to me, it just means, hey, you got to survive one level of subdivision and you could be in a better place. And I don't like having to perform such harsh redirects in order to get things where I want, because this whole area is like not beautiful to me anymore. It's all quads, but is it all beautiful? No. And I'm just such a big fan of having, you know, consistent hard flows, protecting every hard perimeter. So having it be compromised just to get it all quads, and then I'm haunted once again. You know, once you played a game of all quads, it never ends. And join, we see that, you know, join should have a unto knife. Like basically, if you bring join away, it should become a knife at this point. In fact, I should press control and join should become knife. So there is a lot that I see when it comes to join, where I see it becoming a super tool. This is something we argued about internally prior to its release, where we wanted to make it a little bit more powerful, but really I just want join to be join. I need join to be the join tool, but I also see that join can be so much more. It could be like a super join, or it could do so much more. And I mean, this whole thing was just us getting in and converting it, using basically join a knife. So let's look at it from camera view, and instead of moving the camera, we will just let it rotate around that point, even though it will look a little weird. In fact, let's bring it back. And the reason that I'm even still in local mode with it is because of a clip issue happening on the other side of the mesh that I will need to resolve. So we take a look at this part, and you know, I think this part is actually not supposed to be so high, but it is correct because it connects there. But this part will need to be adjusted, and so because of that, let's do that in this video. So what I'm going to do is use a little bit of hard ops, because hard ops remains a masterpiece, but QOT, and we'll add that in the form of a box. And let's take this into local mode. And I'm not saying this box is the solution, I'm just saying it's the idea I was thinking of trying. So if we cut it out, we will have to correct everything that we cut out. And that could be desirable, that could also be not desirable. Let's try making it work out. So let's press Q, difference, and we will apply the boolean, and we'll go inside of edit mode, and let's clean it up, because we've created a boolean problem. And if we analyze it, we can see kind of the level of problem that we created. In fact, I'm kind of impressed with the random boolean cut just looking so good. You know, whenever it comes to Blender and random boolean cuts of a such a hard nature, sometimes it's not the most flexible. In fact, right here, I don't think that loop should go all the way around. In fact, I would want to modify loop cut to have a psychology to it, where it would terminate when it meets a triangle, like in the case that we're looking at. I mean, I'm discussing basically nonsense right now, but someday, loop cut psychology coming soon. Because that was the whole purpose of us having a special loop cut. We would want a special loop cut so we can modify it to basically make it more unique. I'm going to flow out so that we can grab these elements. And we'll just grab these parts. And let's press SX0. Or wait, no, let's look at our axis. SY0. let's look at that again. Alright, SY0, and then let's snap it forward to these verts, but I think we have rotation on. Okay, align rotation, GY, and we just want to place it forward. And we'll subdivide here, slide this over, and we see that that just jumped right over, which isn't necessarily desirable, but you know what, we'll accept it just because in terms of subdivision we are maybe being a little too accurate with what we're trying to do here. And we'll go ahead and choose to inset this. Maybe something like so. You know, we just want a big loop to protect it, which, you know, when it comes to inset, that means a bit of overlap and cleanup required, but oh, wrong setup. Alright, and we're just looking at what needs to exist, what needs to not exist. I always love it when I have shift slide added to basically the mapping. Something like that. And what do we want to do with this? Do we want this loop to continue all the way like it is? I would say yes. So let us jump over into knife, because knife is my alt. And maybe something like that. And we of course have a loop flowing all the way through there, and we can just start solving everything. But let's take a look at the other side just to make sure that everything is in order there too. And we're just experimenting with you know, creating problems and solutions at the same time. So looking at this, do we want it to basically be connected in kind of a uneven manner? Perhaps. We don't want to make that connection yet though. And also, where did that loop go? That loop went so far. We want to stop it short, and then we'll make corrections, because any loop that circumnavigates the form without us analyzing what it's doing is just us asking for a massive constraint loop to be added to the form that's going to hold us back in other places later, and that's never good. Alright, and we're just thinking about how we want to solve this. Let's right click and look at what we got. And of course, we can always just give that a loop cut. That's nothing. One moment to blow my nose. Alright, and I'm back to work. And this part we could definitely handle using project loop. But when it comes to project loop, I'm already thinking about how the next major feature it needs will be something called drop off, because basically a perfect project loop will allow you to drop off things one by one. And this was an idea I referred to as snake, but as I work, I see these ideas coming back even more clear in different contexts being needed, and this further excites me. Imagination is the cornerstone of my identity. So just the idea of imagining ideas is just, I just know I'm in the right place. I mean, even if I'm dying of a death flu, as long as I'm having ideas, even not ideas pertaining to curing it, I think I'm in a pretty good place. Like, I spend a lot of time obsessed with my imagination and making sure that it's functional and fluid and not under attack and such, because, you know, once you lose the ability to have ingenuity as a human, you'll end up no better than a crab. You'll end up one of these crabs that just simply only sees destruction as a means to an end. So we want to make sure that we're being creatively productive. So let us grab this, bring it up, and you know, this geometry, real questionable. In fact, I don't even know why I would want this to not be completely flush. That's what I'm really thinking about, is how I just need to press GY, bring this there and then correct everything else. But there's all these underlying geometrical elements that must be thought about. And this particular setup that I used for this was kind of just a random unplanned configuration, but I'm pleased to see that it is accomplishing it when it comes to solving this, even though let's SZ, SY, GZ, GY, and we'll just snap everything there because the geometry is getting a little unusual. So maybe something like so. And what do we do here? Well, this is an inset situation that just never got fully resolved, so maybe something like that will work. But no, probably something like that would actually work better, and then we just redirect it, and you see that now there's no tries in there. But we're just having some fun. Part of solving is just experimenting with solutions, undoing solutions, rejecting solutions, accepting solutions, and deciding, oh, this solution was great, this solution was not. But we do know that for this hard edge, we will need some sort of redirect happening here. So I'm thinking we'll take this loop from a triangle, we'll extend it all the way around, and that will validate its use. In fact, we select this one, and we use that hotkey of J, which, you know, every time I press J, I look down at the keyboard. And for that reason, J is not my favorite hotkey. In fact, any hotkey I have to look down for is not my favorite hotkey. And I have to look down for a lot of hotkeys because I'm not even a good typer. You know, when I was working in tech support, basically my secret to getting the job was drinking like 2 or 3 Red Bulls right before I went in and did the typing test, where I hunt and pecked with all of my heart. I hunt and pecked so good that I got hired. I mean, really, I just think I was a nobody and they needed me to answer phones because, you know, who cares who answers the phone? Their soul's going to be wasted away anyways. Sorry, got distracted by the song. And we'll just bring this loop down, even though that's not really the best decision. And let us go ahead and make this correction. And we're just thinking about how far do we want to go with this redirect, because we can always just place a loop there and that will make that all work out. But we want even more. We want even more to work out. So really this is getting down to the topo puzzles portion, you know, topological puzzles. You know, once you have the stipulation of all quad, then you have to get creative with how you live up to that, because now we have that part resolved. And I'm looking at the clock because the cats require their food, and if they don't get it, they will harass me. First by jumping on the computer, and then by jumping on me, and then by meowing, and then by bringing me toys. And because of that, the cats must be fed. But no, I'm just making cat food jokes over here. I had a buddy tell me that Fancy Feast cat food is basically like candy for cats. And so it really always has me thinking now about how I've been kind of giving my cats basically the heroin of cat food. And as a result, that's why they are so nuts about 9 o'clock in the morning and the implications. You know, that's what we call it, the implications. These cats know the implications of 9 o'clock. So they are so quick to pop up and, you know, let me know. And, you know, the first thing I yell at these cats is, how do you know it's 9 o'clock in the morning? Like, how? How? You know, and then I have to Google it for a little bit, you know, have to research it, because I'm like, how do cats know what time it is? Maybe I can have the cats tell me when it's a certain time in Poland or in the Ukraine or whatever the case is. Like, there's a lot of times that the cats could be keeping up with for me if they were trying to be truly assistive as time cats. But I see that once again I'm getting distracted. So we have these 2 loops. and they're kind of far from each other. So what if we were to bevel and then perform one of these numbers to basically reduce it? You know, and you probably see me flowing in and out over and over, just trying it out, because that is just a thing with the tool now, just exiting and re-entering strategically, and I'm not regretful of it at all. I do love it. In fact, being able to exit on W is just as great for this tool as it was for box cutter. Box cutter, once upon a time, needed the most rapid emergency exits of all time to deal with people who did not like its hotkeys, and as a result, you know, W became the preferred hotkey to exit. If you got to go, W. W's the easiest way, the fastest way to go. And we're just goofing off with solutions here. Worst case is we make a stupider setup than we already have. The positive is that we could end up solving the problem altogether. But I do enjoy very much the quad redirect game reduction to 0. So even though this video was about another part that I finished at like the 24th minute, I did want to correct that part because it was just kind of haunting me, and anyone paying attention would be able to look at that and think, wow, this guy's an idiot and a failure, and also he didn't model that part right, and also he failed at this gun. And you know, if you were a client, you would say, hey, you didn't do the part right, could you redo it? So I'm going to save this file, but we're going to press D and we're going to reload the original file just to see what he did with this area. So now we have it behaving correctly. In fact, if we look at the wireframe, we could see kind of what the original wireframe was that we were given for this. And then let us jump back to the original file that I didn't save. Just kidding, I did save it. That would be crazy, right? If I did all this work and just didn't save. No, not amateur hour like that. We save around here. But now we are getting somewhere. We did the handle. We're moving through this gun. In fact, the more that I complete it, the more I want to keep going with it. But really, this gun ended up opening a little bit more of a can of whoop-ass than I expected. So enough that I somehow caught some sort of mysterious flu that is not corona, might I add, because corona probably isn't even real. But I do have some sort of flu-like sickness that's in the summer. So I will go and take some Mucinex, guys. But I hope that you enjoyed this video, learned a few things about topology, procured your weapons on site, and also are solving the same mesh inside of Insolve. And with that, I will wrap up this video, and I'll see you guys next time.